Hello, 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 hello. Hello and welcome to Santa Anita Live, Road to the Derby. Dan Tordjman here with America's Best Racing and my good friends Ren Carothers and Matt Bernier. This is the first of a three-part streaming video series from America's Best Racing and Santa Anita. We're live today for the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. We come back on March 6th for the San Felipe Stakes, and then on April 3rd, the big one, the Santa Anita Derby, all points races for the Kentucky Derby. We're super pumped to be here. Ren, it's been a little while. For those who don't know, since we last saw you, you became a handicapper, an analyst at Tampa Bay Downs. You're just making all sorts of moves. I'm glad you carved in some time for us today.
Oh, no, thank you so much. No, I love it. It's been a lot of fun. I got to look smart today because I had a first-time starter win at a big prize, so I always love that. But no, it's just fun. I love sharing the pari-mutuel love.
For those who don't know, Ren is a person who is known as the Peda Geek, and the reason for that is because you are a master of pedigree. You've been following so many of these 2-year-old horses as they've gotten to the track, run their first races, and now we sort of reap the benefits, right? Because now they're 3-year-olds. Now they're on the Derby trail. And you've been scouting these horses out for months. So we're going to get to the Robert B. Lewis field here in a bit, and Ren's going to have some insights there. And the last race of the day at Santa Anita, a bunch of young horses, maidens, nice Calbred maiden field in the last. I also want to welcome in our good friend, Matt Bernier. You know him from NBC Sports and from the Matt Bernier Show, his amazing podcast. Matt, how you been?
And horse players.
It feels like a million years ago, horse players. Unfortunately, time flies. No, everything's going very well. Good to be with you guys again. Feels like it's been an eternity. It's only when was the last time we got together? Was it the Travers or the Derby? It must have been the Derby, I think, right?
Didn't we do a show after? Didn't we do the Preakness together?
Did we do the Preakness?
We did.
I would have been doing more important things, weren't you? Like you were doing more important things.
Oh, you were maybe on site.
I don't remember where I was.
I remember watching the Preakness with Dan Tordjman because I was like, "Oh my gosh, Swiss skydiver! What is going on?"
Oh, I was at Keeneland. That's right.
Okay.
I was at Keeneland, but yeah, it feels like everything just kind of blends together in the world in the era of COVID. It seems like just months and dates and all sorts of different things. They all just kind of blend together. But thankfully, we've kind of hopefully the calendar's turned over to 21, and now. This is one of my favorite things about horse racing in general. We kind of have, I feel like, 6-month increments where the lead into the Kentucky Derby is fantastic. And then once the Derby's over, then we start looking forward toward the Breeders' Cup. And, you just kind of break that racing season, or at least I do anyway, the calendar into 2 6-month segments, the lead into the Derby and the lead into the Breeders' Cup and all the great racing in between. So it's nice to be on the road to Louisville, hopefully, knock on wood, the first Saturday in May.
I look at it the same way. Although I do look at Saratoga as being the festival in between it all. Yes.
So right now, they're loading into the gate for the 6th race, which is the race before the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. We actually have added manpower on site at Santa Anita. Our good friend George Ortuzar is going to be joining us here momentarily live from Santa Anita. He told us that he spoke to Doug O'Neill this morning. He spoke to Bob Baffert this morning. And that right there represents half of the field for the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. So
we've had some scratches.
What's that?
We've had some scratches.
We have had some scratches. You want to go through them?
Well, I'm just glad that you kept it together, Dan, because I know how attached you've become over these past couple of months to Rombauer. So, but he scratched, and he's now going to be headed toward.
Are you asking me?
Oh, no. I was going to have you fill in the blank because I think we got word of where he's actually pointing to, scratching out of the Robert B. Lewis and pointing toward the El Camino Real, correct?
Yep, El Camino Real. That's what we heard. Yeah, I didn't want to say the words because I was at the time that came through. As you know,
yes. Okay, no worries. And then we also have
a lot of stuff.
Wasprint is also scratched. That is the son of Life is Sweet. So he is out as well.
So, again, we're scratched down to a 6-horse field, but as we get into the race, I think we're going to find it's still pretty competitive for a 6-horse race. I know amongst ourselves alone, we have a couple of different opinions. Obviously, the horse down on the rail, we expect Medina Spirit to be the favorite in this race. A little teaser, Giorgio is a big fan, and he's going to give us the word from Baffert. Which one does Baffert feel better about today? Is it Medina Spirit or is it the horse on the far end of the gate, Spielberg, who's also got in this spot? And of course, when we talk Doug O'Neill, we talk Hot Rod Charlie, who finished second in the Breeders' Cup at 94-1. And Doug O'Neill, of course, has some history in this race in particular with a later on Derby winner, and I'll have another. And why don't we go ahead and do a little backtrack to the 2012 Robert B. Lewis Stakes.
I'll have another, now comes looking for the lead. I'll have another, takes on Isn't He Clever at the rail. Right behind them, grooving solo. Liaison now struggling. Liaison's dropping back, going to try to find somewhere else to run. Rousing Sermon and Empire Way. They come for home, and I'll have another kicks away. I'll have another opening up to lead by 3. Oh, losing the rider here was Liaison. Liaison got squeezed between horses and lost the rider. But it is I'll have another coming home to win it easy. I'll have another, and Mario Gutierrez win it by almost 3. Empire Way was second, then Groove and Solo and Rousing Sermon.
That was I'll Have Another in crystal clear HD in 2012.
This is actually him right here over my shoulder. This was that was actually the race that kind of turned me on to him in early on in that 3-year-old campaign. And you'll remember and believe the Santa Anita Derby, he had a great duel with Creative Cause. He ended up winning that race, went on to win the Derby, and then that unbelievable stretch run in the Preakness with Bodemeister. Just all around that sort of trio of races for me, and obviously including the Robert B. Lewis, that would have been the 4th race of them all. But this was. And I think it goes to show that you never know when you're going to see who could be the next big thing. And who's to say we don't see that here this afternoon? I know there was a great race down in Florida just about an hour and a half ago with Greatest Honor for Shug getting the job done in the Holy Bull. But who's to say we don't have a proper Derby prospect coming out of this race this afternoon?
California Chrome did.
Yeah.
Ren, were you ever on the I'll Have Another bus?
You know one of my good friends, right? Kevin McFarland.
Mm-hmm.
We had seen Kevin during I forget where we were, but this was well before the Derby. He was so hyped up on I'll Have Another. I remember every toast he made that night, the toast was to I'll have another, over and over and over again. And then sure enough, when the horse won, you can imagine how much he cashed in. So yeah, I mean, through him, yes, I was on the I'll Have Another train, but I can't take credit for it.
Yeah, well, that's fair. At least you were part of that experience. You experienced some joy throughout that run. As we mentioned, Hot Rod Charlie, of course, is Doug's big hope for at this moment, at least on the Derby trail. He's also got Wiped the Slate in the Robert B. Lewis. So the 4-horse Hot Rod Charlie and the 7 Wiped the Slate. When it comes to Hot Rod Charlie, we referenced that Breeders' Cup Juvenile. We also have a little flashback there. Want to take a look at what Hot Rod Charlie did, and then on the other side of it, we're going to kick it to George because we want to hear what Doug O'Neill has to say about how the horse is coming into this race.
Hot Rod Charlie circles up on the outside. The two of them will turn for home together, and Essential Quality is trying to get them. Here's Hot Rod Charlie, a huge long shot at 94-1, coming into the final 16th. But Essential Quality runs by. Jackie's Warriors giving way. Essential Quality's going to do it. Essential Quality has won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile over long shot Hot Rod Charlie.
Yeah, I didn't have them on my tickets. Did you?
No, but here's the thing. Like, real quick before we get to George, I just want to say, complete transparency. This is going to be my pick today for the Robert B. Lewis. I love a horse who can show up like that, and he has the type of pedigree that's going to get better as he's maturing. He is by Oxbow. We know how well Oxbow did on the. Didn't win the Derby, but Oxbow obviously did well on the Triple Crown Trail as a whole. I mean, he won the Preakness, and then he was second in the Belmont Stakes. But beyond that, Oxbow himself, by Awesome again, won the Breeders' Cup Classic, so that's in your mind. But also, Oxbow's out of a full sister to Tiz Now. So you're still thinking distance. And then the bottom side, he's a half brother to Matoli, Breeders' Cup Sprint champion. So boom, what's up?
That's just a taste of some of the pedigree knowledge Ren is about to drop over the next hour or so. Like I said, we've got 2 races. We've got the Robert B. Lewis, and we've got the last race of the day, race 8, nice Calbred maiden special weight, maiden claiming race rather. We're going to share our picks in a moment. We're going to let you know who we like in those races. And as always, If you have questions or comments, drop them in the comment section there. We will get to them. Right now, we're going to get out to Santa Anita and our good friend, racing ambassador and handicapper, George Ortuzar. George, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It's great to be here with such a great panel. Dan, we had such a good time in that charity contest. It was great to have you there. Matt, man, horse players, that for me, I loved watching you on Horse Players. Very great that you're doing so successful. Ren, the whole Carothers family, fantastic. She's doing that work at Tampa. I love that facility. I'm Cuban, so vaya, tú sabes. When I go to Tampa Bay, it's like, hey, I was rolling the cigars and stuff. Woo, it's a party over there in Tampa. It's fantastic, a fantastic facility. But speaking of fantastic facilities, I'm here at the Great Race Place, and it is absolutely fantastic. The sun is shining. I got to put my, my shades here, the jockey goggle shades, because the sun is just fantastic. I love it. And as you mentioned, I got a chance to speak to both trainers that have more than half the field now with the scratches here, and the race is just spectacular. It starts also one of my favorite bets. It starts the Golden Hour Pick 4. It starts here. That is a phenomenal bet. You can bet that at First Bet. I encourage you to watch and wager there. But it's $1 minimum, which kind of gets a little bit of the riffraff out, the low takeout. Even with favorites, it's a great bet. It's just a phenomenal bet, and so I love it. It incorporates the last 2 races here and the last 2 races at Golden Gate. But the race is here, so this race, phenomenal race. Of course, when I think of Bob and Beverly Lewis, one of the first things that comes to mind is Charismatic that they own. And what a iconic picture when Chris Antley was holding Charismatic's leg. I mean, it says chills down my body. And another one was Silver Charm. And Bob Baffert, of course, trained that one. So I got a chance to talk to my man, Doug O'Neill, right here. Doug, baby.
He's still with you. He's still with you.
He's right there, yeah. And we go way back. We used to, we played basketball together. I was in that whole, I'll have another. I'm talking about, there's no more fun than being with Doug O'Neill when that barn's winning. It's just a party. It's just wonderful. We used to jog around Hollywood Park. We got some terrible thoroughgraph numbers and Byron numbers. we really not too good at all. But,
I want to say, George, I want to give you a blow here. I just want to say, the viewers can tell George is extremely shy. Yeah. He's not used to this at all. So please give him some time as he tries to work himself up for this. Go ahead, George. Continue.
All right. So I talked to let's talk first about Doug O'Neill's charges. I talked to him. We mentioned that he's got he's got 2 in here and now I didn't ask him who they like best, but I can kind of extrapolate from what they told me. He told me about Wipe the Slate. He said, you know what? The dam is by Sensational, which really sprint, you would know Ren, right? More sprint oriented. So, they're really trying to figure out if he's going to be able to handle the distance. Seemed much more secure with Hot Rod Charlie. As Ren said, half brother to Matoli, boom, right? Isn't that the way you described it? Boom, right? So, what a phenomenal race. He got a 3 on the Thoroughgraph sheets in that Breeders' Cup. That is a spectacular number.
And it's a race.
And he just kept getting better and better. Doug said he cannot be training any better. He's so psyched about the chances of Hot Rod Charlie. The owners were there, beautiful couple, and the owner, he was like, make sure you say that the owner is very beautiful. So I have to say that the owner is beautiful. I'm sorry, or else I get in trouble. And so the owner, and he didn't say owners, plural, just his wife. Owner is very beautiful. But they're very high on Hot Rod Charlie. They're very excited to have Rosario ride as well. And with that spectacular run, he's definitely one of the ones to beat. Then I got a chance to talk to Bob Baffert. And Bob Baffert, of course, coming off that spectacular Eclipse Award win with Authentic. He was, he's flying high. And he kind of mentioned that, Pratt kind of referred to Spielberg as kind of a coyote, a runner that's still maturing, that really hasn't given his best.
I haven't heard that one before. You guys familiar with that term?
Only in
a different context, right?
So You know, he
And
likes.
we don't know where this show's headed. Where this is the first of 3, but by the last one, who knows? You know, I'm definitely not gonna be wearing this jacket by the 3rd show. I can tell you that much.
So, I mean, you know, he likes his chances. Pratt's aboard. He's drawn outside, but to hear him speak of Medina Spirit, and if you go to xbtv.com, they got the free workouts there, and you see the last workout where Medina Spirit and Spielberg worked together. And just Medina Spirit look better in that workout. He's doing good. Also, just ran a 3. His first race was a 9 on the Thoroughgraph sheets. Then he bounced to the 3, and he was gaining on what could be the Kentucky Derby favorite in Life is Good. I mean, he made a big move at the end. So, you know, he lost by less than the length to Life is Good. Also, Hot Rod Charlie lost by less than a length as well. So these two are they're big-time contenders. Medina Spirit already has some experience drawing the 1 box in the Sham, and it was more like a Sham wow because he ran so good. Sham wow, and you know.
Well, let's actually, in case you know the viewers out there haven't seen it, you mentioned the Sham and you mentioned Life is Good, who on most people's lists right now is way up there, if not number 1, number 2 on Derby hopeful lists. So Medina Spirit had the unfortunate circumstance of drawing into that race up against Life is Good, who again is just a beast right now. Medina Spirit, of course, a lot of potential and will likely be the favorite here in the Robert B. Lewis. But let's take a look back at the Sham, and as George mentioned, you'll notice Medina Spirit is the 1 horse.
Life is Good. No challenge from anyone. Medina Spirit trying hard in 2nd. He's 4 lengths behind. And then it's Parnelli in 3rd. They're coming to the 16th pole. And it's Life is Good still with a 4-length lead, galloping without any urging from Mike Smith. Medina Spirit trying very hard and is closing that gap late. Life is Good. Medina Spirit, a solid effort. Life is Good wins. 3/4 of a length.
I want to ask Matt. Matt, what did you make of that finish? Is that a product of Medina Spirit just, you know, picking up speed late or you know, kind of hitting his best stride? Or is that more of Life is Good getting a little lazy on the lead?
I think like with many things, it's probably somewhere in the middle. I would probably lean a little bit more toward Life is Good getting a little bit, I don't want to say goofy, but he was never really asked for his best. And it's kind of one of those things. It's really difficult, I think, to ask a horse to really start picking things up when for the most part they haven't been asked to pick their feet up at any point in the run, really deep in the race, especially the first time for a horse like this going 2 turns. Having said that, that doesn't mean that a horse like Medina Spirit, I didn't think he was really running and extending well at the end of the run. And I think it bodes well for him going longer. I think this is one of those instances where you're probably looking at another position where Baffert has 2 to 3 of the best 3-year-olds that you've got, this being one of them. I don't know if he was ever going to beat a horse like Life is Good on that given day, but that doesn't mean that going forward, the 2 of them, who knows the sort of rate that they mature. Who's to say Medina Spirit doesn't actually end up being the better of the 2? When I watched that tape, I don't get the impression he was ever going to win that race, but that doesn't mean that he can't win this race. And again, I think he deserves to be the favorite.
Ren, what's your take on that?
Well, I think this is a horse that's going to, you know, keep getting better as he's getting older. I mean, if you look at the pedigree there, Protonico himself, the son of Giants Causeway, and out of an AP Indy mare. So there's stamina over stamina right there. And then he's out of a brilliant speed mare who happens to hail from the family of High Yield. And High Yield won the Bluegrass, the Fountain of Youth, the Hopeful. He was 2nd in the Florida Derby, the Hollywood Futurity, 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So, I mean, you can see that that horse's form itself got better as he got older. So, yeah, this is a horse, as Matt was just saying, I mean, he's just learning. And so there's a very, very distinct possibility he could, you know, eventually eclipse his stablemate.
As we kick it back to George, I want to put up on the screen here our first look at the live odds for the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. The horse we've been talking about, Medina Spirit, as you can see right there, 7-5, that yellow indicating that he is indeed your favorite. As Ren mentioned earlier, the 2 Rombauer scratched, the 3 Parnelli 13-1, 13-1. We'll note Parnelli 4 races back, lost by a neck to Hot Rod Charlie, who is the 4 horse and is currently 5-2. The 5 Roman Centurion. Matt's gonna have a lot to say about this horse in a few minutes. is 7-1, just right there, just a touch below that morning line of 8-1. The 7 Wipe the Slate, not getting too much love here on the board. 4-1 morning line, drifting up to 6-1 right now. And Spielberg, also a little cold on the board, 7-2 morning line. Of course, Spielberg, $1 million purchase, who came in with extremely high hopes as a 2-year-old for Bob Baffert, and who has had some ups and downs. Comes off a win in the Los Al Futurity, but right now 4-1 on Spielberg, the 8-horse on the outside. George, what did Bob talk to you about when it came to Spielberg, and how he's feeling about him?
Well, like you said, he at one point he was like, I wasn't sure what to make of it. He was like, wow, he was all out to beat a maiden. But then, of course, that maiden came back to crush. So, again, he's still kind of like trying to find out where Spielberg fits. As far as thoroughbred numbers, he hasn't really – I mean, his best number has been an 8, which is not going to win this race. So I think is one that has talent, showed true grit, winning a nose in a grade 1. So you can't, go against that. But then again, it would be a great headline. Bob Baffert directs Spielberg. Oh, man. That's phenomenal. That comes about, but Medina Spirit looks good. Hey, one of the guys that commented there is Darwin Vizcaya. I don't know if you guys know Darwin. Darwin's his birthday today. It's his birthday.
Happy birthday.
He's a Hispanic kind of ambassador working over there at Gulfstream Park.
Feliz cumpleaños, right?
Feliz cumpleaños. Feliz cumpleaños, Darwin.
Full disclosure. This is coffee with Bailey's in it, but you can see how light colored it is. So it's Bailey's with a little coffee.
You don't have to. This is a judgment-free zone. We never make excuses.
I asked you before we went live. I said, "Is this a dry show or?"
One of our comments a moment ago that we had up was that they like the number 5 horse, a horse we've teased a little bit, Roman Centurion. Matt, tell us a little bit about this horse, and then we could take a look at his most recent race. But go ahead, Matt. Tell us why you like this horse specifically.
Well, and, we'll see the tape, obviously, momentarily, but I just felt like that most recent start, he broke his maiden in his first try going 2 turns. It was his second lifetime start. I think Simon Callahan is still, I don't know why, but I still think he's a little bit underrated as far as a conditioner is concerned. I think he does really well with really quality stock, and this is one of those horses where you just look at the pedigree at face value. You see Empire Maker, you see Bernardini on the bottom. You think distance is only going to be this one's friend, but you dig a little bit deeper, and I'm sure Ren can kind of speak to this as well. Yeah. The damn side, there's some fascinating horses down there. Yes. You're looking at the likes of Finder's Fee, who has done a number of things going 1 turn, multiple grade 1 winner, but that horse is also a sibling to a multiple group 1 steeplechase winner. So you've got a little bit of everything in there. And when I watched the way that Roman Centurion won that second time start, it was one of those things that you see horses who really extend down the lane. And while today may not be the day for him, I think he's going to be one of those horses who down the road, whether it's the first Saturday in May or maybe even over the summertime, I feel like 1.25 miles is going to be his bread and butter. He's going to be that kind of horse that wants to go as long as they'll cart him. And that may not be the case for many of these other horses who may be a little bit more on the precocious side. If he gets a little bit of pace, I think he's going to come with a run here this afternoon. I really do.
Well, to your point about that pedigree by Empire Maker, a Belmont winner right there, and he's known to impart such class and stamina in his get. And then, as you mentioned, Bernardini, who's just turned out to be an amazing broodmare sire. He's now got 11 grade 1 winners representing him as a broodmare sire, including Catholic Boy, including there's just so many. My Serengeti Empress. You've got Liam, Colonel Liam, is a Bernard out of a Bernardini mare. So Maxfield, Maxfield also can't forget about him. But also to your point about that female family, so many grade 1 winners. The grandmother of Finder's Fee, as you mentioned, Acorn Matron. Also, you've got Fantastic Find in there. You've got Dancing Spree, who won the Breeders' Cup Sprint. You've got Furlough in there. So you've got a really nice balance of all these class animals, but also horses who could move. Because it's one thing to have a horse who can get a distance. It's another to have a horse who can get a distance, but also has speed.
Exactly.
If I could say something a la Ren, because you got to use that pencil like that.
God.
You see, when you're talking about a horse, you got to use the pencil there. So another thing is, what a great jockey JJ Hernandez has turned out to be.
Yeah, fantastic.
If anybody would told me, even as close as last meet, that he would be the leading rider in this colony. It's just stupendous what he's done. And this whole colony is just fantastic. You got Pratt, you got these guys from Northern California like Gonzalez and Cedillo. You got Rispoli, Rosario's running here. And the attitude of these jockeys, let me tell you, I was a jockey agent for 7 years. The attitude, they have a positive attitude. They're enthusiastic. This is a crop of jockeys that is just phenomenal. And JJ aboard Roman, I didn't talk to Simon Callahan, but my boss Nate Newby did. And Simon is pretty high on his charge as well. So a lot of positives in the corner of Roman Centurion, including the pen waving of JJ. Oh, baby. Oh, you know you didn't.
To wave the pen. Oh, yes, I did. One more pen wave. Because I should mention, how do I forget this? I mean, Empire Maker, the sire of Pioneer of the Nile, who won this race. And then went out to sire American Pharaoh. So there you go.
we did mention we have a quick backtrack to Roman Centurion's maiden win. We want to show that. And on the other side, I'm going to come back and tell you why he's not going to win.
Okay.
Star Sailor is on the inside second. Santos to Wilson is next. On the outside, Roman Centurion's running a very big race. He's closing. Center of the track, Chasing Fame is also flying. Here's Chasing Fame coming after Roman Centurion, who takes the lead. Roman Centurion draws off by 2.5, handwritten. Star Sailor, De Jour, Chasing Fame. It's Roman Centurion, another one for Juan Hernandez.
All right. Look, I thought he did it well. He did get obviously a great setup, but closing the way he did and winning by 3 3/4 length like that, visually impressive. And again, like you said, I respect Simon Callahan. He so many times will take a horse that who might have been overlooked even in a prior race, win a maiden race, then move them up into stakes company and run well with them. My concern with this horse is that he ran on Lasix last out for the first time and is off Lasix. So I think most horses you would expect a bit of a regression, coming off Lasix in a situation like this. Richard Buckhantz, by the way, just commented and just literally wrote like a novel about Roman Centurion. I don't know if it'll fit on the screen or if it'll block all of our faces. I'll try to let's see what happens. Look at that.
Wow. Wow.
But anyway, we'll step up for maiden win last out in a big test here going to graded stakes. Look, I agree too. And you've got a number of other horses here who are super competitive. I want to take a look at some of the horses on the track right now. That's in the center.
I gotta admit,
It's really a little hard to look at that.
I'm not as concerned as you about the off the Lasix thing, because we don't know if that's what moved him up, because it may have just well been, he's getting his distance. Again, Empire Maker or Bernardini going from 6.5 to a mile and a 16th, you're going to move up. But I mean, it's possible what you're saying. It is possible. We'll talk later because we're going to also be talking about race 8. There are a few horses in there who've been on Lasix, they're still on Lasix, and they're running back very quickly. Now, I don't like that because the recovery time's not as favorable. But
one of the other things I would add about Roman Centurion, and this isn't meant to be sort of a fail safe if the horse doesn't run for whatever reason, but the idea of we're all very familiar with Santa Anita, and Santa Anita going 2 turns is a track that tends to be kinder to speed than perhaps think of some other tracks, whether it's in New York or in Oak Lawn or something like that. So let's say he comes with a bit of a run, flattens out a little bit, finishes 3rd or 4th. If the connections are still very high on him, it wouldn't stun me. Simon Callahan's someone who's not afraid to ship horses. It wouldn't surprise me, and I've always felt this way about good horses based in Southern California that don't have that natural early speed that many of Baffert's horses do, that many of the other sort of, I don't want to say stereotypical horses that we've seen come out of Southern California and go and run well elsewhere. They usually all have good early foot. A horse like this, it wouldn't stun me if for whatever reason they said, you know what, if we're going to prevail against bigger and better horses, we probably need to do it away from a track like Santa Anita because the running style is just not conducive to success. Having said that, if he bucks the trend and runs really well here, I think you want to upgrade him a couple points just because of that fact.
I like it. I like
And
it.
in that race, they had, Bob Baffert had a big favorite there, Du Jour. So he just put that horse away like he was standing still. So it was a visually impressive effort by Roman Centurion.
And if you're looking for form lines, I get it. We've only had one horse come out of that race, but that horse did come right back to break the maiden next out with a 60 buyer, improve the buyer speed figure 9 points from that start to the subsequent one. So again, you can't really make any serious calls. There's no sample. There's one horse that came out of it, but it's at least encouraging to see that as opposed to a horse that did no running in the next start.
All right, George, we know you've got things to do, places to go, babies to kiss, hands to shake. Before we let you go, give us your last second gut opinion and maybe even suggest a bet that you want to throw out there for the people watching.
Well, I think Medina Spirit showed that first time going 2 turns, can do nothing but get better. It was a wonderful second to probably the favorite in the Kentucky Derby. The workout since was spectacular. Bob Baffert's won this race 8 times, so he knows how to get ready to win this race, and it's going to be my pick as well. I just want to also tease, here at Santa Anita, we didn't race yesterday. Of course, they're always trying to make judgments in the benefit of safety for the equine athletes and for the jockeys. So this weekend, we tried to be as safe as possible. No turf racing today. But next weekend, we got a big weekend coming up. It's going to be fantastic. February 6th. It's not announced yet, but they're going to have a big announcement as far as the Pick 6 is concerned. So pay attention to that. What could it possibly be? Ooh, I wonder what.
Well played, George. Well played.
But certainly next weekend we're expecting a big weekend. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. And I'll see you next time for the San Felipe.
All right.
We'll see you, man. Be well. Thanks for popping in. All right. George Ortuzar from Santa Anita. As I said, a very shy guy. You gotta.
It's too bad he's so shy.
You gotta give him some time. We do have a couple people chiming in with their picks in the upcoming Robert B. Lewis Stakes, and then we have a question here, which I know Ren has an answer to. What's the double? And we've all taken on this challenge, right? We're going to give our $20 betting strategy. Ren, what is the double?
Well, I have to adjust my double because I asked Ron Ellis about a firster he has in race 8 because the horse has tremendous pedigree because let me get my notes here. Cousin Eddie, the mom, she raced once on dirt. And that was at Santa Anita, and she got a 72 buyer speed figure and a show-dough finish in the main special weight. And then she's also from the family of Bridgetown and Strike the Gold. But he tells me, and I'm going to quote him, I don't know if I got the clearance for this, but he says sure. So I asked him if I could share this. I asked him if he thinks this horse is ready to win first out. He says, "Hi, Ren, I don't think so. He's big and pretty green. I think he's going to need 2 turns. He doesn't have much speed." So, okay. That was a horse that was on my double, so now I have to take him off. So basically, I'm going to go with Hot Rod Charlie over Crash Corrigan, who's the one horse, I believe, in that race. And reason being, there was a next out winner from that race, Shimmer Me Timbers, won a maiden 50 by 2.5 lengths, got a 63 buyer speed figure. That was an estate bred. Family of grade 6 winners Riker and Cashel Castle, and grade 1 winner Lunar Spook. And then I guess I was using Seahawk Cody.
Ren, you gotta save all this stuff. We've got.
Oh, sorry. Well, you want the double? I was trying to tell you why I like it.
Just give us the double. Give it to us. Go.
Okay, four over 1, 2, and now I have to add one more horse to make it my 15 because $5.
Go with the double. 6. Go with the 6.
Okay,
Trust me, that's who I'm going with.
4, 1,
I'll explain in a bit.
4, 1, 2, 6. $5. It's a $15 wager, and then I'm going to do an exacta box in this race of a 4-5. That's $5. So that's $20 all done. What's up?
Beautiful, beautiful. Matt, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with all my $20 here in this race. $10 to win on Roman Centurion. I think it's just one of those things where the price is right. He's 8-1. And again, he's stepping up, taking on winners for the first time. Running style perhaps compromises him a little bit, but the price is right. And I know some people don't like this idea, but I'm also going to play a $10 straight exacta of the horse I think is the most likely winner, and that's the number 1 Medina Spirit, but also adding my horse underneath, where if he does come with that run, but it's not quite enough, you're looking at right now, it looks like a $2 exacta that's coming back $34. So I'm going to play that for $10. Obviously do simple math, 5 times whatever the exacta will pay or probable would be. That's what you're looking at. So realistically, if you wanted to chop it up and weight it a little bit differently, that's entirely up to you. But just for simplicity's sake, 10 to win on the 5, and then a $10 cold exact, the 1-5.
I'm going to go sort of with you in terms of looking for a little bit of value, and sort of with Ren in terms of my top selection, who is going to be Hot Rod Charlie. But I also like Parnelli a little bit. Again, a horse we haven't spoken much about. The last race, it looked like they tried to take him back a little further and rate again. That was that Life is Good Medina Spirit race. That whole field was strung out, and I can give the horse a break for that one. Generally speaking, Parnelli is forwardly placed. I could see him being on the lead here. And because of that, I think that he's going to go a long way up front. And he shows he's got a lot of grit once he gets to the front. So there's my bet. It's simple. You start it here. It's going to – hopefully we get to the last race with this. You see, I used the 6-2, Ren, so I wasn't just throwing you something that I didn't use myself. We're going to do a $5 double, 3-4 with 1-6. So 3-4 being Parnelli and Hot Rod Charlie. They are going into the gate at Santa Anita for the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. We will get you out there with some sound and with a full screen here. Do we hear it?
Yes.
All right. Enjoy the race,
I hear Mir Man.
Lewis.
I love Frank Mirmati.
Medina Spirit is in. Roman Centurion. Here's Parnelli. Wipe the Slate will follow him.
I'll say really quickly, I do love that the Zaydan Racing Stables, they've got a theme with their names. I mean, you had Princess Noor, that's Arabic, and then Medina Spirit. Medina's in Saudi Arabia. Got the theme going. I like that. I like theme stables.
And they're off in the Robert B. Lewis. Wipe the Slate flies out of the gate. Medina Spirit on the inside. Parnelli is in between them up close too. Then it's Spielberg and Hot Rod Charlie. And the trailer is Roman Centurion. Into the first turn, and Medina Spirit intent on making the lead, and does so in front 3/4 of a length. Parnelli between, and Wipe the Slate on the outside takes second. A gap of 4. Hot Rod Charlie is next, just in front of Spielberg, and another 2 to Roman Centurion. Onto the backstretch in the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. And it's Medina Spirit dueling with Wipe the Slate. Parnelli has backed off, 3 off the leaders. Another 2, Hot Rod Charlie starts to gather a little bit of momentum. He's racing 3 in front of Spielberg and Roman Centurion. A half mile from home. Medina Spirit puts a length on Wipe the Slate. Parnelli trying to come back for more. Hot Rod Charlie in striking range. He's 2.5 off the pace coming to the 3/8 pole. Spielberg, yellow cap at the rail. Roman Centurion outside of him. Medina Spirit has a 1-length lead on Wipe the Slate. On the outside, Hot Rod Charlie. Roman Centurion is starting to gather some momentum on the far outside. He's moving up to take second as the field turns for home. Medina Spirit called on now. Center of the track, Roman Centurion. Hot Rod Charlie is in between them. Roman Centurion, Hot Rod Charlie trying to run down Medina Spirit. They're inside the 8th pole. Between horses, Hot Rod Charlie. Medina Spirit, tough as nails. Roman Centurion on the outside. Roman Centurion, Medina Spirit, and Hot Rod Charlie. What a
oh my gosh, that was really awesome, actually.
And turn them all
Oh my.
Roman Centurion and Hot Rod Charlie.
Maddie, I feel sick for you.
Well, I mean, look, I thought it was a good effort from the horse. This is going to sound like Debbie Downer now. I mean, looking at the final time, and I don't know how the track has necessarily been playing as far as times go for the day. I mean, this is not a sparkling time if the clock is accurate. And, you know, we've talked about it in the past. Typically in dirt racing, if you have, it's a little bit different with turf, but in dirt racing, if you've got 3 horses across the wire, it makes me really wonder how good the race possibly could be. Mm-hmm. But having said that, from an entertainment standpoint, fantastic race. And look, give Medina Spirit credit. He dug in very, very gamely, given the fractions. They went very, very fast early on for him to put away the other speeds and hold off the 2 horses who basically had the run of the race because of the pace scenario. You know, maybe you want to give him some bonus points for that. If the track is playing very slow, maybe you can give him a mulligan here. But boy, 46-1 for a mile and a 16th. I mean, going to have to do considerably better than that going forward.
No,
Yeah.
I agree with that. This track can sometimes be slower. It just depends. I mean, they slowed up. They made it more safe.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you're going to see something like that. I do like to see that a horse after. I mean, that opening quarter was good, and the half was fine. They slowed up later, but sometimes horses get mental, and even if they get away with something early, they'll throw it. I don't know if you notice this every now and then when they do get their own way. Sometimes they'll still throw it out later because mentally they just feel like, wow, I've been out here all by myself for this long, and now there's another horse, and they get distracted. So it's encouraging to see that he had two horses breathing down his throat latch there, and he still persevered on like that. He was never going to give a quarter to him, it looked like. And it was tight. Now, I do feel bad for Hot Rod Charlie there in the middle. It looked like he was sort of like squeezed in between.
Yeah. I want to see the head on there to see how tight it got.
Because I do think he took a bump a little bit here.
We're already making excuses for Hot Rod Charlie. Me and Ren, we're like, I think he got bumped.
I think he got.
I think he got bumped too. He definitely got bumped.
Now, again, without going too far into the weeds about speed figures and things like that, if you're just trying to look and see what these horses, or at least two of them, had done in the past, I mean, you've got a horse like Medina Spirit who had a 99 coming into this, and Hot Rod Charlie had a 94 as a 2-year-old. So if you want to sit there and say, and it's, I think, entirely within the realm of possibility that a horse like Roman Centurion jumped up that 10 to 15 points, it's really not a far-fetched idea. Again, if you're just trying to say, well, they've done this in the past, maybe they did it here in this spot. It'll be very interesting. I mean, this is going to be a fascinating race to go back with time. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to really make any kind of call on any of these horses in these races, is we're going to need a little bit of time to be able to go back and say, okay, well, it was either good or bad. This could either be the keyest of key races, where you've got three horses who are all very good, and this is going to be the race that is very, very productive going forward. Or we'll look back in, 6-8 weeks and say, you know what? Okay, they were probably the B string, maybe a notch below the Life is Goods of the world and some of these other horses. But, I guess that's part of what makes this time of year fun, is you can watch the race and say, it was entertaining. Who knows? Maybe it was good, maybe it wasn't. But we're going to find out in short order soon enough when they come back and run again.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, no. I was just thinking out loud, and now I totally forgot what I was going to say. So go ahead.
I actually, so a couple of things. First of all, I see George O still there. George, can you still hear us? Give me the thumbs up if you can hear us. I'd like to get a reaction from you in a second. Hang with us for a second. I did want to put up a couple of comments that we have here, because it kind of speaks to some of the points both of you have been making. Steve Gilfeather, in terms of quick reaction, can't wait to bet against Medina Spirit last out. Obviously, looking at that final time and not being impressed by the three-way photo finish there, as you pointed out, Matt. But then you have Andy Stokes. What a fighter, right? I mean, because the horse took all the heat early and then was still there late. So, look, I think you could parse this a couple of different ways, and only time will tell, really. Luckily, if these horses do reappear in the San Felipe and the Santa Anita Derby, we're going to be there with you to watch this as this whole series unfolds. This is the drama of the Derby Trail, and this is why it's exciting to watch these races and track them.
Sorry, go ahead. What I was going to say was, another thing that's always difficult too, and sometimes you have to just take it with a grain of salt, is when you do have these short fields, times are not going to speak as loudly as they may otherwise. Because again, it really sometimes does just come down to almost a battle of attrition and what a horse has constitutionally within themselves in terms of heart. Mm-hmm. So that's why you can still watch a race like this. You can accept those, up until the half anyway, and be like, okay, cool, solid. And then whatever happened after that, you can appreciate it for what the horse was willing to do to throw down to maintain the lead.
Well, and look, I mean, I gave you sort of the reason to be speculative. You want the reason to be excited about it going forward. You've got a horse like Medina Spirit, who not only ran fast prior to this race, but just showed that he does have that sort of fortitude to say, you know what, I'm going to deal with all the other stuff early on and still be able to hang on at the end. That's a feather in his cap. That's not something that should go overlooked entirely. Hot Rod Charlie, this is his first start since the beginning of November. He's been gone for some time. So for this to be his return effort, he's going to move forward out of this race. I'd be stunned if he didn't. And Roman Centurion, he carried ground. Yes, he had the pace to run at, but it was his first time against winners. So if you want to, it depends on where you land. And I think that's the beauty of handicapping. It's all subjective. You can be the one to sit there and say, I either loved it or I hated it. And these are the reasons. And, again, we won't really know until we see them come back. But I kind of just gave you the reasons either to love it or to hate it. And we'll find out in time, ultimately, how it shakes down.
Well, can we also say, I mean, going back to talking about Hot Rod Charlie coming out of that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, somebody who was a Future Stars Friday. I got to give some love to that race. It's been productive. You've had horses come out of the juvenile and really perform. So now here's another example of that there was no claim, right? No claim of foul on Roman Centurion, right? So we're third, right? But still, I mean, that's a show-doe finish in a graded stakes Derby prep that is now coming out of that Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So that flatters Essential Quality, obviously, who put him away. And Essential Quality, since we are talking Derby, let's also be reminded of the fact that this is a horse who mentally was still pretty green after he had won the Claiborne Breeders' Fraternity. Brad Cox told me that Louis Sides got off the horse. Was like, he doesn't even know what he's doing out there. And so then when you saw him get a little more serious there in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and still win, looking like he was having fun, it gives you, sort of that anticipation and excitement of, well, what's the horse going to do when he puts it all together? So we have Essential Quality out there. We've got Prevalence out there. There are a lot of good horses to be excited about. Yep.
And also get excited for a loaded field of 11 horses coming up in the 8th race, which we will show you live here, and which we will also analyze and give you picks for. Right now, you got the replay of the Robert B. Lewis up. We'll leave that for you. And to kind of, break it down as it's happening, as we look back on it, George, what did you think here? We're watching the replay now. There's Medina Spirit going to the lead, and obviously, the horse wiped the slate to the outside, put some early pressure on. But what were you thinking as you were watching this unfold?
Well, I mean, I thought that I was in perfect position with Medina Spirit. I thought he would be up close. He was second to Life is Good, so he was kind of in that leading pack last time. So here he's traveling easily, and he's looking good. And I'm thinking, wow, some of these closers are going to start getting ready to make their move. And the 7 put some pressure on the 1. But you know what? I know the Super Bowl is coming up. I know there's a lot of exciting sports out there. Is there anything more exciting than horse racing?
No.
One of the most exciting races. I don't care who you had. Oh, my goodness. I was screaming like a little third grader.
It was a fun race. It was a very fun race.
Fun race. I don't know what the times were. I don't know how fast it was. But I know it was exciting. And that's what I love horse racing. It was very, very exciting. And here, I mean, this is just a nice looking mover. Medina Spirit, just like in the workout, looks like a racehorse. This is a racehorse. And then when they looked him in the eye, he responded. Gutty performance, showing true grit. Bob Baffert hands off to him. Simon as well. Doug, they had these runners ready to throw it down. And boy, did they throw it down.
At this exact moment, George, at this exact moment, Matt was snapping. Matt thought he was home right here, and I thought he was home too. I'm sorry you have to watch this again, Matt.
No, but I mean, to me, this is the part of handicapping that is the most fun, is to go back and either see something that maybe didn't pan out the way you had hoped it would, something that some of these horses did that maybe live you didn't notice. For me, watching that replay back, Medina Spirit, I actually now like the race a little bit more just watching it one more time through, because not only did he deal with that early pace pressure that George was speaking of, but if you go and watch on the far turn, and they're going to show you the head on here, he was really early to change leads. And when he opened up by a length, his ears went straight up in the air. I kind of get the vibe that the horse doesn't really know what he's doing yet.
But the voice wasn't very clean either. If you just
for him to gallop out the way that he did, I think you probably now, again, it all depends. The eye of the beholder. What do you think of it? It's all entirely up to you as the handicapper. Me watching the replay one time on top of the live run, I'm a little bit more interested now, because I do think this is a horse who has room to improve if he puts his mind to it.
Can we also say this is the first time I'm noticing that the track is listed as good? So, with some of that added moisture in the surface, I mean, you can give a little bit of a pass on the slower time.
Another thing we learned about is maybe we could say, you know what?
Sorry.
Wipe the slate. Maybe it is, you know, a little bit of sprint breeding. Maybe going long is not going to be his game. Also, Spielberg, just, you know, he didn't have quite the strong thoroughgraph numbers coming into this and really didn't deliver as well. So we learned a lot about those two. And the top three, I mean, they just inseparable, obviously. And moving forward, these are young 3-year-olds. They have so much room to improve. And it's going to be exciting as we move forward in this Road to the Derby series here at the Great Race Place.
Yes, Spielberg, you mentioned, by the way, again, finishing 4th, but, you know, with every reason to have done a little bit better. I did see on the head-on, Ren, and I think you saw this, Wipe the Slate came out and took a good bump. Gave a good bump, actually, to Spielberg out of the gate.
Look at that. Did you just see that? Come on.
Yeah, Hot Rod Charlie should have won.
Charlie got ping-ponged in there. Did you just see that, poor boy?
Yeah, look, Hot Rod Charlie ran a good race. I mean, I'm not upset with that. Like Matt also alluded to earlier, first race back from the Breeders' Cup. I'm not upset with that race at all.
You know, how could I have forgotten? Also, I didn't even as a petty geek mention. You know, Hot Rod Charlie, Dan by Indian Charlie, won the Santa Anita Derby. Was undefeated going into the Kentucky Derby, and then he gets beat by a stablemate. Now he's only lost, and then he's retired, and then he sired Uncle Mo. Yay!
Next time is half brother to Batoli. Boom!
Boom! He got ping pong. You should show that back in slow motion. Boom, boom.
Now,
boom.
now, also something to factor, and I'm going through taking a look at some of the results that we've seen already today.
Do we have? Can you compare some times here so we can
the track is very, very slow.
Okay.
So this is not nearly, and again, this is, you know, you need to be able to have some sort of reference point. You know, in real time, it didn't look great. Now, looking back, I mean, you had that San Pasquale earlier, and I know it was only a 5-horse field. They went 1 1/8 in 52 flat. I mean, you're expecting at Santa Anita typically a time closer to 47 or 48, you know, for a distance like that. So looking back now, I think it's entirely fair to think that this is a very deep racetrack. And you know what? Maybe it's not yielding blistering times, but to Ren's point, you had the rain, and obviously, and to George's point, I honestly, a deeper track is going to be a safer track for the most part. So I have no problem with yielding a slower time. And now you at least get to kind of, okay, we factor that in. And it'll be fascinating to see what the speed figure makers use. But I'm not nearly as concerned about the time now looking back at it.
You know, and that's so, it is interesting because, like, as I said, you know, I only noticed, did you guys know that track was listed as good when it was run?
Well, I knew that there was some rain, and so I assume there's some moisture in it. I didn't
even know it rained over there. That's bad on my part. I didn't.
No, it's all right, George. What's your take on? I mean, how much moisture is there in the track right now?
You know, Dennis Moore, who's our track superintendent, sealed the track, and there was, you know, it rained like crazy over the weekend. We took a lot of water. So, you know, I mean, in the past, like Matt said, Santa Anita known for blistering fast tracks, and whoever goes to the lead is tough to go by. Really, he's got this track where it is pretty fair. And so even with that being slow, being a good track, a fair track, I thought even more impressive of a performance by Medina Spirit, who really the track wasn't favoring that kind of speed, especially since he took some heat early on and then just kept finding through the stretch. Really a great performance. And then, you know, hats off to Bob Baffert for doing such a good job to have him ready.
Yeah.
All right, George, we told you we're letting you go, but we saw you pop up again, and we said, you know what, we're not going to deny you the encore, right? The fans were cheering, they were applauding, they were like, George, you have to come back out.
Well, I couldn't stop watching the show. You guys are so great. So I was like, I'm going to watch this whole show. I'm just going to enjoy the races and watch you three. You guys are doing a wonderful job.
All right. Well, awesome, George. We appreciate you being on. And again, hopefully we will connect with you in the second edition of this series coming up on March 6th.
All right. I'll see you guys on March 6th. Have a great show.
Hi,
George.
The golden hour double. Don't forget that.
Always promoted. Love it.
Yes,
I'm already thinking of so many fun things we can do with ABR regarding, like, okay, Derby themed party, right? So, like, you know, inspiration from the horse's name. So, like, Medina Spirit, can we, you know, you can have like a baklava cocktail of some kind, like a flavored, like honey type deal. Come on, you know what's up here, Dan Tordjman, Moroccan.
Look, if you want to write a blog about it, you know, drinks and their horse equivalent.
No, I just want to be fed and given. I don't want to write
no work, just consumption.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of stuff going on at ABR, I just wanted to throw out, we a lot of times we do a lot of, we try to take fans, as close to the game as we can, take them behind the scenes. One of the cool things we just launched this week is a new series with a jockey that some of the viewers may or may not have ever heard of. I want to show that video, and I want to get your reaction when we come back on the other side of it.
Hello everyone, my name is Chelsea Bailey. I'm a 10-pound Ladybug apprentice jockey and also a professional MMA fighter. I have been an athlete for over 10 years of my life. I have rode at Oaklawn Park, Churchill Downs, Belterra Park, Keeneland, Kentucky Downs, and also at Canterbury. I have fought and wrestled all over the United States throughout high school and college, and I've also fought internationally in Brazil. I'm going to be able to show you Oaklawn Park 2021 through my eyes and from my point of view, what it's like to live in Hot Springs in Arkansas, where Oaklawn Park is located. All right, thanks y'all.
That's awesome.
Like getting on a horse, pretty scary. Yeah. Getting into that cage, even scarier.
Can we get her,
which one do you think scarier?
Well, can we get her with Calvin Burrell, right? I had total flashbacks. And I was like, oh wow, I could see her sort of sparring with Calvin.
I would actually pay to see that. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, safe to say the toughest athlete that we have, not just in horse racing, but maybe the United States. I mean, going from riding in the afternoon and in the mornings to fighting in the cage. I mean, what does that double pay? What is that exactly?
And she's so pretty, and so she must be good in the ring because she's protected her face.
Yeah, and not taking many punches. No, she's been fun to work with. We've got a lot more videos that are going to roll out in the next couple of weeks, and so you can check them out on americasbestracing.net and also check out our social media accounts. Getting a lot of comments here, and I always tell people, if you drop, some like flattery on here, you say anything, how good we look, how good we sound, you're going to get on the show. So Stephanie knows, like, you know what, like we're with you. Like we want to do every show.
Thank you.
We love that. George fan, in case I'm sure George is still watching, wanting more of George, as does Travis. Give us more George.
It's fun.
So, absolutely. All right. So we have another race, as we've teased and as we've promised. And this I'm especially excited about because, as we said earlier, like Ren, her specialty, is the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds. As they're making their first few starts, she knows how to dig into that pedigree and give you information that you're not going to find when you're looking at the past performances. Ren, I want to do this, though. When we talk about a couple of these horses, like super simplify it because even me sometimes I have a hard time
right now though. I'm sad that Ron told me that his horse is green and not ready yet because he's so beautiful out there and he has the best pedigree by far because he hails from the female family of Strike the Gold.
Well,
Ren, all I'll say is
yes,
don't get off because of that.
You're right. What is wrong? What does a trainer know?
He's 10. No, not even that. I don't mean it in that light. He's 10-1, and this field, the horses that have run, are we terrified of any of them?
No, I'm definitely not terrified of them. And this is the thing. And so this is where I'm going to give my little, just in case things go awry, speech is that, yes, I love pedigrees. Pedigrees matter most when it's a horse trying something new for the first time, whether it's a new surface, new distance, or it is a maiden special weight and everything's a blank and you're looking for a diamond in the rough because you don't want to just play connections. Now, when you are dealing with maiden claiming races, it's a little bit more difficult because a lot of times the horses that are in there that have really good pedigree, there's something wrong and not something where the horse shouldn't race at all. I mean, I'm not saying people are running horses that shouldn't be running, but I'm just saying, maybe there's a horse that it has action that is hindered. They have a crooked leg of some kind. They can run, but they can't run as efficiently. Or maybe they don't have as good a windpipe, so they can't, go on and persevere and have the stamina to run at top level. So that being said, it gets a little more tricky, and you have to kind of fill in some blanks. I ultimately, go ahead and use a combination of factors regarding that. Originally, the horse in the field I feel had the best pedigree was Cousin Eddie. And a quick way to figure out in a situation like this of a horse who might have a better pedigree, because the female family means most. You see the different dam sires. A lot of these dam sires are lower level studs or, we love all studs. I don't want to put anybody down, but they're not like the big price Kentucky studs, right? But yet here this horse was in there, and you see he's by a Tis Now mare. So already you're like, okay, well, that mare must have pedigree. So I dug in, and that's how I know that her family is the family responsible for producing Strike the Gold. So that's why I liked him originally. And to Matt's point, there's nobody in here to be scared of. So you can take a swing with him. I mean, heck, even if you put $2 on him, what is he right now? He is
10-1.
Yeah. So I mean,
well, Ren, explain, kind of connect the dots for us a little bit more. Like, why is it that a horse with good pedigree, where you're looking at the horse and you're saying, look, everything here should fit, why would this horse not be ready? Like, from the trainer's perspective, like, what does that mean? Like, why?
Well, he tells me that he thinks he wants 2 turns. He wants ground. And so this is a 6 furlong race. Champ Pegasus is by Fusiachi Pegasus, who's a Kentucky Derby winner. Tis Now, 2-time Classic winner. So sometimes when these horses are bigger bodied, when you're looking for a horse for a distance, for example, you'll notice horses, and I haven't seen just a perfect sideways shot of them, but horses that are longer in build tend to be better at a length of ground. Horses that are more compact, that look a little more quarter horsey, are better at sprints. There is a confirmation component that the angles of a horse's body enable it to have an edge at certain distances and certain surfaces. And that deals also with, again, like if we're talking surface for horses on grass, you want to see a horse with a little more angle to the pastern. The pastern is that little bit of length between the hoof and the ankle. That's the pastern. If it's long and springy, that's a horse that's going to do better on grass most likely, if he has a big foot also, because a big-footed horse with a springy pastern, sometimes they lose a bit of ground in dirt because it takes more for them to like pull themselves out of it and go forward. So there's all these little different key things here. We'll see the 9 looks really good on the track right now, whoever that is, Sabuda.
That's your favorite, yeah.
The problem, my concern with Sabuda is this horse just ran on January 22nd, which I wouldn't have a problem so much with, except for the fact that the horse ran with Lasix then and is now running back with Lasix. And so sometimes not all horses, some horses thrive on quick turnarounds, but sometimes when you run with Lasix and then you get Lasix right back again, it takes some starch out. So if the horse is a short price, like 2-1, I'd rather let the horse beat me than because I look at that horse now as vulnerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think the number 1 in here, Crash Corrigan, this is a horse that is getting first-time Lasix. You already saw him put in a good performance there at Del Mar at the maiden 50 state bred level. I already mentioned Shimmer Me Timbers came back to win by 2.5 lengths in another state bred maiden 50, got a 63 buyer for that. This horse has pedigree as well. Family of graded stakes winners Riker and Cashel Castle, as well as grade 1 winner Lunar Spook. I think Seahawk Cody, that horse has 3 siblings that were both first out. 2 of them were first out winners, and the other one, the third sibling, he was second by a head. Okay, so Seahawk Cody making his debut again by Champ Pegasus, and out of a Henny Hughes mare. Henny Hughes imparts speed, precociousness. So this is a horse that maybe at a price is one we can look at. He's currently 10-1 on the board. And then you mentioned the Loot Is Mine. Now, this is a horse that Peter Miller started on turf, and for good reason. The horse has, a pedigree that, can kind of lend itself to that. But it's one of those pedigrees that can also flip. Now, if you draw a line through that last race, I don't know why he eased. I don't know if you know, Dan, because I know this is.
You know what? I don't, but I will say this.
Yes.
When I see a horse ease,
they come back quickly.
As the 8-5 favorite, and has previously gone off as the favorite just about in every race, they bring the horse back at the same level. They're obviously not concerned, right? I mean, in their minds, it has to be something isolated. And I think if this is a horse that's been going off at even money and to 2-1, and I get him today, I was hoping for better than 4-1. He just clicked down to 4-1. I don't really want 4-1. If I could have gotten 6 or 7-1, I would have been really excited about this horse. Yeah. But 4-1 right now. Go ahead if you want to let us know what you think about him, and then Matt, I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, the only other thing I'll say about him is, obviously you've got a really quick speed influence in there with Midnight Loot being the dam sire. But I will say you've got the blinkers going on again. He was not wearing them last out, and also he's getting a big weight, not compared to the rest of the field, but compared to what he's done in the past. He's getting a big weight break from that last race in which he was saddled to 124. He's now down to 119. So weight can matter. And it's just another factor to take into consideration.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, so level of racing like this, to me, while it is horse racing, to me, the trainers come into play much, much more at this level for the reasons that Ren has alluded to, the reasons that we've brought up. Maybe there's a confirmation issue. There's a reason that a horse is in at this level or debuting at this level. And certain trainers do better at placing horses in positions like this than others do. It's just the fact of the matter. Despite the fact that Ron Ellis believes that the horse is going to want to go longer, he does really well with this sort of move as far as statistics are concerned. And again, it's not like we're talking about a 7-2 or a 3-1 shot. He's 10-1. I'm entirely content taking 10-1 on Cousin Eddie. And you know what? If he lags behind early on and he only finishes 5th and picks up some pieces, I'm not going to be devastated by it. I think there's a reason to believe that a horse like this has a chance in a race where none of the horses who have run have done anything all that spectacular. For what it's worth, for Ron Ellis's barn, past 5 years, dirt first-time starter and maiden claiming races, 6 for 16 with a 440 ROI. So it's a small sample size. I understand that, but I think it's pretty solid. And you know, I think some other things at this level that maybe you want to factor in, and it's not gospel, it's not always accurate, but I do think sometimes there's some signal in there. You know, a horse like Stones River, you have the move to Abel Cedillo, who by all accounts is one of the leading riders in Southern California. Craig Lewis is a shrewd horseman. This is a horse who is paired up Beyer tops of 42, which doesn't sound great, but to me, I believe paired up tops can precede a forward move. Second start off the layoff, has shown a little bit of early foot in the past, was 20-1 on the line, and has been living in that 8, 9, 10-1 range, now is 11-1, taking a little bit of early money, floating up as time goes on. So this is a race where, look, I'm not ashamed to say it, I'll bet 2 horses to win in here. I'll bet the 3 and the 5, 11-1 each. If one of them hits, boom, I'm made in the shade. So that's kind of how I approach these races. I'm not just going to automatically look at it and say, you know what, the 9 makes plenty of sense in here, Sabuda. You know what, if the horse wins, great. I don't need a 2-1 shot that I've got major questions about. I'll take a shot on a couple of fresher faces, let's say, with the 3 and the 5. If either of them win, you're going to get about $23 back. I'll take a shot there with those 2. So I'm going to bet both of them to win.
Was that made in the shade, by the way? Was that a general reference or was that a Hamilton reference?
I mean, it honestly, for my, it could be either. I mean, I got the album on my phone. It's not the end of the world.
Is JD not listening to me? JD, I just said that, yo. You can pop up his comment on the screen because people who didn't catch what I said this already. But we do right there, 2 or 3 siblings, 1 debut. And the one that didn't was a head beaten in second. Okay. Oh, and the other thing, you know how I said there's the 9 right now. I was concerned about the 9, Lasix, and now Lasix again just a few days back. He looks in fine condition, so he doesn't look drawn. Sometimes that's the concern because obviously when you use Lasix, you drop the water weight and then it takes time to, you know, puff back up and whatnot. The horse looks in very good flesh. So I will say that.
I love everybody commenting with their selections. David Leon here agreeing with Matt on the 5-horse Stones River. Another person who agrees with Matt, because I see him in the comments section here in the private links, is George O. He says, don't leave out Stones River from your exotics, expecting a much better race than last time. I agree. I just went in and I put a bet down. You can see, get in on the action with first bet. I just bet win place bet on the 5-horse Stones River, and then I boxed them with a couple of the horses that we mentioned earlier, Crash Corrigan, who Ren likes as well. And I threw Cousin Eddie in too, and the Luda's.
I love that name, Cousin Eddie, because I'm a huge National Lampoon fan. And Cousin Eddie, like my dad and I, we would laugh and laugh.
With the help of the assistant starting team, taking up his position.
I would quote the movie, but I can't. I don't think on here. It's the internet, I guess. Right? But I don't want to get in trouble.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh, that's the gift that keeps on giving.
You got family in here, Ren, I think.
Oh wow, yes, that is family. That's Mom, actually.
Mom is in.
What's up?
All right, people still chiming in with their picks. We love it. Keep it coming. We're gonna do this for all the big Derby prep days at Santa Anita. We'll be back with you here, Santa Anita Road to the Derby live.
JT's watch.
And then you get a little bonus coverage here. A little bonus coverage.
Kitten to the outside.
Nice betting race here to close out the card at Santa Anita today.
Yeah, very much so.
You see, last year we had to do a lot of race calling ourselves, man. Glad those days are over. Take Frank any day.
And they're off. Sabuda very quick. The Roan Ranger is flashing plenty of speed. And the Loot Is Mine is up to take the lead quicker than both of them. Then it's Robin's Legacy. Stones River is a close-up fifth in some traffic trouble, having to take up in between horses. Ooh. Careless Kitten is on the far outside. JT's Watch is in between horses. Down at the rail, Crash Corrigan. Seahawk Cody has to back out of a little bit of traffic. Then it's Cousin Eddie in a gap of 3 to Little Mischief. Into the far turn. The Loot Is Mine, much sharper today, leads 3/4 of a length.
I think the jockey lost the irons on Little Mischief out of the gate. He's sitting in the saddle for first couple strides out.
Robin's Legacy in fourth. JT's Watch is in between horses. Stones River with the red cap as the field turns for home, and Sabuda dashes for home. Opens up 2.5 in a hurry. The Loot Is Mine is back to second, and then it's a wall of horses battling out Miners. Crash Corrigan coming through along the inside. JT's Watch, the Roan Ranger, and all the others left in the wake of Sabuda, who has overwhelmed the competition. Sabuda strolls in by almost 5 lengths. The Loot Is Mine was second. Crash
Moral of the story,
the Roan Ranger,
listen to Ren.
I mean, I didn't bet the horse because that price was too short for me. And I was, again, concerned of a quick turnaround originally. And as they were heading the gate, by that point, when I realized the horse was in fine flesh anyways, I didn't go in to pop one, a bet.
I was referring to Cousin Eddie first and foremost. But yes.
That horse not being ready. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your Crash Corrigan also ran a really nice race. Pretty much the only horse that I saw closing from.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if it was Cousin Eddie, but there was some horse there coming down the stretch from the outside. I think it was Cousin Eddie. Would not change his lead. Would not. Obviously, wouldn't change anything much other than maybe just a better placing. But I mean, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
Sometimes it's obvious.
Well, I hope some of the people watching had it. I see a couple of viewers here who had the Loot Is Mine, so hopefully they used the Loot Is Mine with the favorite, who was, as you could see there, the first bet AI pick, which is pretty cool. I didn't know there was an AI option. That is awesome. So you use that one with a horse that I think we all thought had a shot in here in the Loot Is Mine, and it ends up being pretty formful. It's, we're all, kind of hoping for a little bit of a long shot, which is, I think, what you should do, especially in, these, a Calbred $50,000 claiming race. You look for some prices.
Umberto Rispoli, by the way, he's another really fun personality talking about jockeys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's so good. I was like, I thought it was
timing. The timing.
Yeah. He's good. He's good at everything. All right. As we've said, this is the first of 3 live streaming shows here on the road to the Derby at Santa Anita. We hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. If you want to see more of something, less of something, obviously drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. As we do every time when we end the show, we give our host an opportunity to let you know where you could catch them. Matt, let's start with you. Where do people catch you when you're not on this show?
Podcast is up every Monday or Tuesday throughout the week. The Matt Bernier Show in the Money Media. You can find that in a million different spots wherever you listen to your podcast. But that's more or less the big spot there. You can follow me on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. But going over this race that we talked about today, the Bob Lewis, as well as the Holy Bull. So again, it's one of my favorite times of the year because it's all unknown. For all we know, we could have seen complete superstars emerge today and the horses that'll carry sort of the torch for the next 12 months. So it's always that time of year that hope springs eternal,
That's right.
That was a good thing.
Ren?
As for me, I am the simulcast host of Tampa Bay Downs. So you can catch me Wednesday and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because we skipped Thursday. Obviously, we've got some Derby preps coming up, Sam F. Davis, and then later the Tampa Bay Derby. So it's going to be really awesome. So you better tune in for that. And then also, I host the Future Stars Friday forecast. We're currently in the follow-up season. So I just check back in with horses who have run on that card and what they're up to. And as I mentioned I talked to Darren Fox yesterday, so you can check my Twitter feed for that because I retweeted it, or you can go to Breeders' Cup's Twitter feed and or their YouTube, and you can check out that interview. We talked about Essential Quality as well as Vequist because they stand Nyquist, and she represents his freshman crop. We've got 2 Eclipse champions that they can feel, that deep, attachment toward because they bred and own an Essential Quality, Godolphin, Darley, and then again, Nyquist being the sire of Vequist. She's
an encyclopedia, folks. That's her Twitter handle right there. You see mine. I'm going to remove this momentarily so that you can see Matt's Twitter handle. Always great to follow, but also I know from experience, always great to bounce thoughts off of. If you're having, whether it's handicapping questions or just kind of curious about something related to pedigree, for example, with Ren, drop them a line. They'll always answer. For now, this is it for tonight. We will.
Wait, I need a disclaimer. If I said anything that offended anybody today, I was just joking.
She was just drinking Baileys.
I have some left. Not much.
Yeah, you can finish that up. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you on the next show